Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away. And Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude. And the job for Teal, he's part of the deal with his trusty Go-Out. It's just a regular day at Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
Look at us being semi-consistent. We're back again within a week.
Woo!
Less than a week.
Yeah.
Well,
Yay! I think it's been a week. I think it's been a week.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we're back.
Look at us.
Look at us. I'm your co-fry, Sarah.
I'm your co-fry, Christina.
And I'm your co-fry, Wells.
Yeah. And we're back for another I don't know if this is a banger, but it's a solid episode from season 4.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a fun one. We'll get into it. But before we do, let's jump in that fry box.
Let's do it.
Short, cause we're 3 fry short.
So this will be like a small fry box, so to speak.
Small
Yeah.
fry.
Not
It's
the
a
extra
kid
large.
fry.
It's the kid size. Yeah. It's the
Kids meal. Kids meal time. But I'll let Wells take it away because it's a companion.
I really got to get the burger drawing. I know, everybody. I know I owe a companion burger to the fry box, and I will make that happen with all the extra time I have at some point. But no, so we gave a lot of companion updates last time. We don't need to really rehash a lot, except the one ask that I really want to push, and everybody who's listening live or listens after the fact, if you want to help spread the word, we need more submissions for our book with Amanda Tapping, the Embracing Mental Health as a Fandom book. And I don't know, I think Lawrence and I talk about it a lot with like what the deal is, maybe why we haven't gotten the reach, why we haven't gotten, we have 205 total submissions, and a lot of them are quite good. Some of them need some heavy edits. Some of them aren't usable. A lot of them are pictures, which are great. We love pictures, but we need more like content. And I will reply to some of the questions coming through the comments afterwards, after I give my little spiel, so that I can kind of help explain a little more. But in reality, for a crowdsourced book, you need way more submissions than you possibly could put in the book, so that you get really quality entries into the book. And we aren't there yet. It's okay. We're not out of time. We in fact have to keep pushing the deadline because of Amanda's 6-month gig, and we haven't really been able to sit down with her and figure out her written pieces in the book yet either. So it's okay. But I do want to, before we get to a point where we're like, wow, crap, we don't have submissions, I want to ask for this now. So hi, Ergo.
Hi, Ergie.
He has the most on his nose, and I'm trying to like come here.
So I put a newsletter out to the companion folks last week sometime saying, and this is kind of important, and I don't know if people did realize this, where you are with it, but like Embracing Mental Health as a Fandom was never just Stargate.
Correct.
Embracing Mental Health as a Fandom is our community, and then Amanda spearheading things, but fandom being like any fandom and every fandom, and anybody that wants to come into the companion community and be a part of it and submit these stories and find common ground with other people to realize you're not alone in these struggles. So this is why we've had Michelle Hurd in a couple, like live at some conventions, and then also on on a live stream. This is why we bring Terrell in, we've brought all these authors in and all these people now as well, to try to kind of spark some of that creativity and some of that outside the box thinking. So if you know people who feel the way you do, who feel the way we do, and have maybe a story to tell, whether it's a Star Trek fandom story or a Harry Potter fandom story or I don't know. I had an ice skating submission, like fan
Cool.
submission. So like you can go all over the place. The connection, the connection between us all is the fact that we're all here doing this and we're all part of this community, and Amanda is too.
Yeah.
This is not to say that it's not still spearheaded by Amanda. It 100% is. Amanda is the only one that's going to be at the top of every single chapter in the book and at the beginning. So it very much is Amanda Tapping's embracing mental health as a fandom. But Amanda's directed a lot of other stuff too. She's not just Stargate, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So think outside the box. Casually Sandra asks, any particular question or just overall? Wonderful question. I would say I've got a lot of short answers. We can still always take them, but if people do feel like they have one of the longer answer things in them, if you answer a long answer question, you can also submit the ones that are like, give us a word or give us a comfort show or stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
those are the things that are going to turn into like word clouds and infographics and things like that, that won't necessarily have your name on it, but it's going to be compiled into like these groups of information. And then your tell us about your what's the last one I did, what's holding you back. That would be a long answer thing. And by long, I think we have it capped at like 1,100 words.
Yeah.
So really think about what you're writing. Sarah, if you want to contribute to that part of it as well.
Yeah, I will. I'll be a little mean here. I'll start off by saying, like, first of all, Fran, my sister, if you're listening to this, you better fucking write something, bitch. And I talked to her, like, I went out because I know she's really into fandom stuff. Like, I have a feeling she's going to be writing about Harry Potter because she also wants to submit photos with her tattoos, which are Harry Potter themed. And I was like, do the most, like, submit as much as you want. If there's any questions, Wells will reach out to you. I'll answer as many prompts as possible. Now, do I have the notion in my head that they'll all be put in there? No, but I want to give you guys as much to work with as possible. And I'm sure if there's any question, if it comes down to deciding, like, we can't put 2 prompts that you wrote in the book, I'm sure Wells will reach out to you and say, hey, which of the 2 would you rather be in there? So I would say submit as many as possible. The more that Wells and Wells have to pick from, the better it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
Additionally, I will say this is not a space to like write fan mail to Amanda in any way. I know she's involved in this, and I know it might be a little tempting because she's gonna like read this stuff. It's gonna she's spearheading it, so she's heavily involved, but that's not really the space to do this. So just stick to the prompts and keep it to the prompts. And again, it doesn't have to be about Stargate. It can be about anything. Harry Potter, Star Trek, Doctor Who. It doesn't even have to be science fiction. It could be Game of Thrones. It could be
Lord of the Rings.
Literally anything that has to do with fandom. Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other things. Anything that you're a fan of that has like positively influenced or made you think about yourself and your relationship with your mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even like if I can jump in, like even with gaming, and you think about like anything that's about community and fandom is kind of an interchangeable in some of these spaces where if there's ever a space where you felt that the community, because of a common love or interest, has gotten you through, like that's what fandom is. Like that's what it is. Like you can be a fan of art, you can be a fan of running, you can be a fan of health, you can be a fan of so many different things. And I know that it's amazing and exciting because this kind of like got rooted. If you think about it, like this like tree, like it got rooted because we're all in this like Stargate fandom and Amanda sponsoring and all that. And of course, that's this common thread. But as part of the community and fandom, what a cool opportunity for you and for us to like be, these branches that can kind of like get it out there and spread it a little bit further. And that's what, honestly, I'm inspired by the idea of this book is to like get the reach farther. And I think if we try to like keeping it enclosed and keeping it behind these like gated spaces, we're not really doing what I think we really all meant to do, like with this all coming together in the first place. So if you think of it that way, like that's something that I've been really like toiling around in my head. And honest party of one, like I have not submitted anything at this point, and that's something that I've, behind closed doors, like, discussed the whys and the things, and I struggle to get my words together. So I am someone that, if someone else is struggling to get their words together, I'm happy to do some, like, body doubling or going back and forth, and like I could use a partner and like helping me really get through my thoughts. But like at this point, I'm not going to task anyone in my inner circle with that. At this point, I'm not there. But if you are struggling, like, reach out. Like, maybe we can kind of help. Maybe there's some partnerships in that. I don't know. And that's just me to me. Don't, not the fry. I'm not speaking for the fries. So, and I'm not putting that on anyone else. Just not put it on him. But the point is, why not be those branches and get out there a little bit further and think about it? Because, that's the idea here, is not to keep us closed in, but to keep growing. So
Yeah.
that's my hot take on it.
I would like to offer some other some tips and tricks, maybe. One being that so what everybody knows that I worked in EMS in my
Mhm.
past life, one of many past lives. It's like that when you go into the nursing home and you ask the person, like, do you have, like, what's going on? And they go, well, when I was 5 years old,
Oh
I
yeah.
fell down a set of stairs. I
Hmm.
we don't we you know how much the fries we all ask for your origin stories on Stargate? We want
Mhm.
that. The book doesn't necessarily need that. So get the pertinent information that you need out of your origin. But like really think about tightening things up. Like keep it
Yeah.
nice and tight and snappy. If you need suggestions or editing suggestions, don't let that prevent you from submitting
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
we will be going through them. There are some that I have that are phenomenal, but like need to be shaved down. And I'm happy to throw those edits back once we get to that stage. So don't let it keep you from submitting, but also don't feel like you have to write this whole novel to get the thought that you're trying to get about what the prompt actually is out. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to write like this whole we don't necessarily probably don't need your full explanation of the past to get to like you thinking about this question. Maybe think of it more like somewhere in between you're telling us, but also you're journaling for yourself because these prompts are all very kind of journal style.
Mhm.
Uh, what's holding you back? This is something that you could answer and even if you decide, hey, it's a little too personal for me to submit, you've gone through the exercise of doing it. So, and the honestly, the concept of what's holding you back probably doesn't actually have any fandom in the answer. Maybe it does. I don't know. I hope
Right.
Stargate isn't holding you back.
Yeah.
But
Some of those questions have nothing to do with fandom itself.
yeah,
Some of them do. Some of them can be like geared that way.
yeah,
I would also say too, if you can also submit anonymously, or at least have it published in the book anonymously.
yeah.
You do have to put your name when you fill out the form, so Wells and Lawrence will know who you are.
That's
But
also so we know that
confidentiality,
we have a signed trail of saying you gave us permission to put it in the book. So when you
right?
submit anonymously, we don't really know who did it or who submitted it. But that doesn't mean that we'll print your name. We'll print whatever. There's a section that says
Prefer
name
like,
you'd like to be published under.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Wells, do you want to go through the prompts again really quick that are out? Have you released them
Sure.
all?
No, I still have more coming, but I've started getting a little more aggressive to get the last ones out there. Let me see what's the best way to look at it. Let me do this. I have this handy dandy playlist in YouTube uh for everyone to look at as well. So if you could just go watch the whole playlist and just get to watch Amanda talking at you about all of these questions, which is
Queen of our heart.
always
Beautiful.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. Um you might have to look at me a little bit in there as well, but I try to keep that to a minimum.
Stop.
Um the first one is how has fandom affected, saved, or changed your life? That one is very much a fandom question, and also one that might
Mhm.
require a little more backstory. But again, keep it to the pertinent information. Keep it
Rough
snappy.
drafts are your
We want
friend,
snappy.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
get it, do the word vomit stream of consciousness thing, and then don't just fart that off into the universe. Like, go back, let's reread this, let's go through this again.
Yeah.
Thesaurus this,
Uh,
dictionary this.
what 10 words describe you? So that's literally just give us 10 words. We don't need an explanation. That's literally 10 words. This is one of the word clouds we're going for. And we would love for as many people as possible to answer this one. so that we actually can get a really solid like word cloud or something where like, you know, the most common words, like the biggest word, and then you have like
Yeah.
slightly smaller words, like
Mhm.
fun stuff like that in the book. Let's see. Write a letter of forgiveness to someone,
That's a good
and
one.
that someone can be you. I've had people ask me,
Mhm.
"Can it be a letter to myself?" 100% it can. Yes. Don't
That's the one that I've been working on for quite a bit now.
yeah.
So you're not alone with that one too, but yeah, it's that's brought out some emotions. So maybe I should put that aside and like work on a different one and then come back to it.
Yeah, if you're stuck on one, yeah, go to a fun one, go to a different one, go to like a
Mhm.
whatever to and also don't feel like if you get to the end of one of these submissions and you go, "This is too personal, I can't share it," that's okay. The exercise of writing it is as much part of this project as anything else
Mhm.
is. So it's really okay. I hope you share. I hope you feel confident enough to and comfortable enough to, but I totally understand if you don't. Like that's fine. Let's see. Uh what's your glimmer? A glimmer is a great lighter one.
Mhm.
And you're encouraged to send pictures in, um, or even some words of some glimmers. I think those will be peppered throughout, I think, for like different glimmers that people have. And I've seen some amazing, lovely pictures. People with family, people with lots of pets. There's a lot of pets, which
Aw.
I would expect nothing less than a lot of pets. Um, let's see, what's the next one? Uh, what has a character taught you about yourself? Any
Mm.
character.
Oh, that's a good one.
And the thing is, my favorite characters are usually not the ones that teach me something about myself. It's usually some other character, maybe one that I don't even like, and then I go, "Why don't I like that character?" Probably because they're acting like me. Uh,
That's a good one. I might do
for
that.
real,
Mhm.
yeah. So, what has a character taught you about yourself? And let's see,
Mm.
the next one. What's your comfort media? That's another list one. Just give us your comfort show, comfort movie, comfort music. I
Yeah.
know I know Stargate's gonna be the biggest word in the word bubble, that's fine. But I know we all, like, have Stargate as our one little crossover, and then all of us have vastly different other things that we like, which is really, really cool to see. And I love when
Mhm.
people submit, yeah, of course, put Stargate, but put something else too, because, like, it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see how different we all are beyond Stargate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Those are good ones.
Let's see. Okay, another one. What would you say to someone who has passed away? This is another difficult one for people. Um,
Mm.
so if you could say something, what would you say? And then the last two, okay. Oh, share your. I like this one. Share your unexpected life journeys. So if you haven't taken the typical path of, and a typical path, my idea of the typical path that I was expected to take might look completely different from yours, and that's fine too.
Mhm.
I think actually that'll also be really interesting to see,
Yeah.
well,
Mhm.
I thought I was supposed to do this, and this person thought they were supposed to do this, and in fact, we're, like all over the place.
Yeah.
And then the most recent one I just released was what's holding you back. What do you think is holding you back?
Mhm.
So those are the
They're
ones I have
such
out
good
so far.
prompts.
These are 9. I think I'm gonna get up to 12, maybe 12 to 15. I'll see. I'm cutting down this video of the conversation that Lawrence, Amanda, and I had about
Yeah.
these questions, and I'm pulling what I feel like is gonna be the best, like, solid prompts out of it. So, but there are gonna be at least 3 more for sure.
Nice.
So there it is. There's the book. Another question. Uh oh, Sandra, it's okay. It's on me to release them. Sandra says personally I wouldn't mind if you release them all already. That's a me and a bandwidth issue more than anything else. I'm trying. Um let's see. Mara says if you share them on Facebook groups, you are more than welcome to share them on Facebook groups, and I encourage you to do so. If you do share on a Facebook group and you find that it's met with
Trolls.
some trolls, hit up
Mhm.
one of us. We'll knock it out. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
John D is always waiting in the wings, man.
I was gonna say
He's ready to
our-
go. He is
Our
primed and
soggy
ready.
bottom
We gotta
fry.
send him
He's
one
ready.
comment. He's like, "Where do I have to go?"
Tap me in, boss.
Because we did like it at in San Antonio as we were setting up on
Mhm.
day one. We're setting up the embracing mental health as a fandom, and this guy walks by. He was like a VIP or a volunteer or something. So he was there earlier, and he was like, "Mental health," huh, and like walks off. And we're like, "That's the guy that probably needs the most mental health advice and help." So it's when you're outside of the companion bubble with the mental health talk, sometimes it can be a little, and the Amanda bubble. I feel like Amanda fans versus overall Stargate fans, you've got kind of two different things going on. But don't be afraid. just hit us up and we'll send in the enforcer and it'll be fine. And then sit back with your popcorn and watch it. Just watch it happen. It'll be great. Somebody yeah, again with is it worth asking on Stargate? Yes, it is. Just know that something might happen, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, we got your back, and if we need to call in, like I said, the second tier reinforcements, the real enforcers. We're very lucky to have some great enforcers, and I think it's just from our time on TikTok and having to build that like safe buffer community. So you're not alone. So if you want to have a stab at sharing it, we got you.
It's very well. It's very appreciated to people like John, and even Christina dives in a lot too. There's an element to me being one of the faces of the companion that makes it really like frustrating because I can't dive in. But that's when we just go, hit somebody else up and be like, "Yo, can you just squash this real quick?"
Yeah,
and we're good to go. That's the
secret.
All good. Cool. That was longer than I thought it would be, but maybe maybe that'll help. We'll cut it out. We'll cut this chunk out too and encourage people to submit. Please submit. Don't be scared to submit. If you want to submit and then give me a heads up if you have a certain concern or a worry or you're scared or something, you can email me or the fries, but you can email me specifically wells@thecompanion.app. I should have set this up already and I didn't, but I'm going to do it really quick here.
Do it. Stalling for time.
I'm going to scroll it across the bottom. There we go. Email me there and just give me a heads up that you're sending it in, and be totally open about like if what your fears or your concerns or what you're worried about. I'm happy to have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to tell you sooner rather than later. If you want me to flag it to like check it now, then email me and I'll do the best I can to like read yours as soon as possible and give you some feedback, advice, whatever about what you submitted. So cool. That's what I got.
Nice.
This turned into a very big kids fry. This is like supersized fry. It was a good talk.
The kid got to the end of the fries and started crying because they wanted more fries, and now we
got more fries.
So
yeah,
that's what it is.
It is what it is.
But thank you for giving me the time to like talk about it. Because we do really want to be able to put a really solid book together for everybody to feel like they have something with them to feel connected to everyone else in this wonderful community, and also to bring some new people into this wonderful community, because I think you're all pretty stinking great. It's the most positive, affirming like fandom community that I've ever been a part of. This companion fries, whatever you want to call this community. So thank you all for being a part of that.
Yeah.
It is that. All right. We want to jump in?
Let's do it.
So we're talking about season 4, episode
what are we
13.
doing? What are we doing even? Yes. Yeah. Season 4.
I don't know. 13. I don't know if it got swapped, because when I looked up the transcripts, it had this episode swapped with the next one. So I don't know if I don't know if there was like some inconsistencies with how it aired versus
what's the next one?
I forget what it's called already.
I'll look at it.
I bet there was like it was originally going to air in a certain order, and then they went, that doesn't really work.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, but we're talking about episode called The Curse. So this is where we meet some new characters. This is going to stretch across a the better part of the series, I think, until what, season 7 this
Mhm.
will follow us. So
Mhm.
another example of expanding the world. What was the last episode that you mentioned, that Wells, that it kind of like expanded the universe even more? Oh,
Oh, I mean,
Tangent.
the very recent one, they do a lot of that in this little chunk of episodes, which you think are like they're potentially nothing burgers or just jaunts in one way, but in
Mhm.
another way, you don't realize if you're watching this the first time just how significant they are to like the whole arc of the series afterwards.
Yeah.
The Tangent, it was that big jump in technology of like, oh, we're actually trying to create our own like shit now, you know?
It's
Mhm.
starting to feel more intentional too, because before, especially in like seasons 1 and 2, they truly were just like fucking off into the sunset, and it's like we're never gonna
Mm.
see these people ever again. And maybe we'd get like a past and present Kira update, but that it wasn't to be expected, right? But with this other
Mhm.
stuff that we're getting, you know they're gonna have to pick this up later on. Like
Mhm.
they're intentionally doing that. Um,
Mhm.
we're gonna get an update soon from a season 1 or 2 coming up.
That's the
That
next one.
again, we weren't expecting at fucking all, which I'm glad they did. Like I truly appreciate that they did that. But if we never got it, it would have been like, okay, that's kind of par for the course in those earlier seasons. So you can feel that it's much more intentional in
Mhm.
season 4 as opposed to even stuff in season 3, honestly. There were some one shots in there that we never, again, they just fuck off into the sunset. Bye.
Yeah. Well, it very much feels like obviously they did the test and learn, right? Like, okay, this type of storyline, this one got more traction. Let's go back in. And it just feels like revisiting some like attempted storylines, but now with purpose, like with a little bit more
Right.
foundation. Yeah. But Serpent's Venom was the one that was next. So that's is that the one you're talking about that got switched?
Let me
The teal.
look. Let me find the transcript website that I went to and see. I
It's
think it's
always
Stargate
interesting.
Solutions.
It's always interesting to me trying to figure out why, if things got flipped, like why.
Uh-huh.
If it's something that's like, oh, meta plot wise, this makes more sense to introduce this before this, even though they both technically could have existed as episode 13, but like it just flows better.
Mhm.
It's just really
Yeah.
interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Please
Oh,
hold.
while you're looking that up, I'm gonna pull one comment and then and every other comment we're gonna hold till the end. But Sandra said it helps that they cast a superb Sarah / Osiris. And I was just talking about Anna Louise Plowman. And my one crazy
Mm.
fact for the episode for her in general, and if you like her, you know this already. It's one of those like I don't need to share to people that already know this, but I think it's a really fun fact. So if you didn't, just know that Anna Louise Plowman's mother-in-law is the late great Maggie Smith. This just blows
Mm.
my mind every time I think about it. So worlds
She,
collide.
how did that work? She married,
She married Maggie Smith's son. Yeah.
nice.
Yep.
I keep seeing that one clip of her from Harry Potter when she like does the magic spell to like bring the statues to life. And
Yeah.
it's so fucking good. That soundtrack
Mhm.
slaps so
That
fucking hard.
soundtrack is so good.
So
I
good.
added that to my running playlist. And
Oh, it's a good
if
one. Yeah.
anything, if any, because I keep seeing them coming up, like because once you engage, it's like algorithmically, it's like, okay, girl, here's some more. If I could go to like one of those orchestral concerts where they play soundtrack music,
Mm.
that would be so fucking cool. Like some Hans Zimmer or James Newton Howard or something. Like I'd be so down to see that. That looks so cool. Because they're also playing movie clips of like fucking Pirates of the Caribbean in the background while they
Yeah.
play the music. So it's super cool. Highly recommend. Okay, so let me see. In the transcript guide, it had Serpent's Venom next, and then it had the curse. So I don't know why
Interesting.
it got flipped.
There's got to be a
Yeah.
reason. Maybe we'll know after we break down
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them.
It'd be-
Then maybe
Yeah.
we will know why.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Good.
just uploading.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Put a pin in
Think
it.
Yeah.
about it. Keep thinking
Everybody
about
think
these
about it
episodes. Why would they have
and come
flipped
up
it?
with theories.
But
Yeah.
also,
Okay.
here's your photographic evidence of
Oh,
Maggie Smith
Aw.
and Louise Plowman.
Oh, cuties.
It's just like what? What?
It's so wild.
Small worlds. The world
I will
is small.
also, yeah.
Okay.
I will also say that I was going into this with a very hater mindset. Shocking, I know. But I texted the group and I was like, "What did I gotta read exactly what I said."
Sarah,
I was
hater?
like, I
No.
was
But
stewing. I was
but,
like,
like-
we're on the way home from like doing our errands this morning. I was just stewing about it. I'm like, I don't want to fucking watch this episode. But what were you gonna say, Christina?
I think it's really funny because I love, and we know I'm on my journey to like reposition my thoughts on Daniel Jackson, but I love Daniel Jackson like episodes. They've always been my favorite. They're always my comfort ones. And I find it comical because I was waiting for you to like have the hate coming, because every time it's a Daniel episode, you're like, okay, I hate this episode. And I'm like, Sarah, like there's not been one where you haven't been like, I got hate. And I'm like, can I have one that is actually I love, that's like not like shit? But then we watch it and I'm like, fuck, okay, there's actually some good reasons for this.
I'm really reaching.
I was proven wrong about this one though. It wasn't. So I
Yeah.
said, hot take. I'm dreading this episode because Daniel doesn't deserve another love interest after how horrible he was to Sha'Rah in Secrets. His love life can rot for all I care.
And I'm just going,
Rot.
but I love, but like it's so hard because like, what if I was like shitting on like Sam constantly? And like, oh, I need a good Daniel episode. Like I need a good one. But you're not wrong. But it's just it's.
I mean,
funny
this
like,
one, you're right though. This one isn't bad, like Sarah said.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I was just stewing about it because that's all I could remember was like, oh god, this fucking girl, his long lost girlfriend from the past. Here we fucking go again. All of his goddamn love interests. I'm over it. You know what? Still stewing in my brain. Boo, tomato, tomato, with past
I
and present.
know.
That was horrible.
I know. I
feel like
know.
best Daniel in my mind is the Daniel that we don't have yet, which is post-ascended Daniel, which is
Yeah.
sassy as fuck Daniel. I feel like that's my favorite Daniel.
That's what like I'm like, we're just gonna stay through it for the story arc, but I get it. But it's so funny to me because I know anytime it's a Daniel episode, I always wait and like, so now I've let it out of the bag, but I always wait. I'm like, at what point is Sarah gonna be like, fuck this episode? Like every time.
He was horrible to her in
decision
Secret.
making.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
It's just
And-
like it's true
Well,
though.
and it honestly, to Wells's credit with the thumbnail, also, it's like this is a repeat. This is just like rehashing the same fucking shit over and over again. Like, get this man an actual love interest that sticks around and doesn't repeat the storyline.
Or
because
don't
I'm
worry
tired of
about
it.
a love interest for him for a while.
Correct.
Y'all.
Yeah, just like let it go. Like he doesn't
Brilliant
need
man.
one.
Like he's got all this other stuff. Like we don't need.
I just think the writers did him dirty. Like I just think like he wasn't given.
He's the
whatever.
hot one, so of course, like, people are gonna want to see that.
I like
No,
how
no.
he's
Okay.
the hot one, but he's my least hot of all of SG.
Oh no, he's
in my brain.
no.
In my brain, he's the least.
Oh, and for me, I'm just like, that's my type. Like you guys know, like
I
dial
know.
it
For
in.
me,
That's
it's
my
like Sam,
sign seal
Gil-
delivered.
Jack, and Daniel.
I can say, like, objectively, he might be considered the most conventionally attractive out of all of them, except for Sam, of course. We're
Well,
not
the
counting-
90s, the most 90s attractive too. Because so if you're looking at this like from
Yeah.
the lens of when it was airing, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah.
they're really playing into that. So, okay, back to our group chat. Christina did say, you know, like, hey, to be fair, it wasn't as love interesty as I remember it. And it was his ex with a little rekindle. And I said, he deserves nothing. But once I rewatched it, I was like, okay, yeah, it wasn't that bad. Fine.
I think I stayed out of that one, I think.
I'll concede this.
Well,
I
I
was
was just
just
like,
like-
I'm gonna just.
Not
And see,
saying no.
okay, this is a good example to anyone. The three of us, constantly disagree on things and have total safe spaces. So I'm just going to say, like, back to our conversation we've had before, all opinions and thoughts and whatever. Just, it's not like we all sit over here in kumbaya together and agree and align on
If
things.
we
Like that would be
agreed on-
boring.
especially in the Stargate world, if we agreed on everything out of these episodes, we would not have a podcast because it would
Yeah.
just be like,
It would be boring.
wasn't that great? Yeah, it was. Okay, next episode.
I have okay. I'll give this to you, Christina. We're going on a tangent, but that's fine because this is kind of a nothing burger episode, so we got to fill
we'll go
there
f-
somehow.
As long as we go through, we'll go through it quick. Yeah, go tangent.
Okay. Here's a gripe about Sam that I have in future seasons. When Daniel dies, I hated her response to that. I hated how they portrayed her.
Yeah.
I thought she was, don't come for me. Rabid Sam fans, stay down. I thought she was so fucking whiny and
Sam,
like,
Sam
yeah,
with the,
yeah.
It's like they last minute went,
She's the lady. Give her the emotions.
right. And also, should we have tested a potential like love relationship, like romantic relationship between these two? Because some of the shit she's saying is very like
not in character at all.
Hold on now. Where's the like sibling vibe? Like what this is weird.
He ascended like it wasn't the season finale because they still had a whole season finale to get through, and she was just so fucking mopey about it. And it's like if anyone should have been upset about it, it should have been Jack because they had the deepest friendship from the start. So there's my Sam gripe, and I'm open to hearing all of the Sam gripes because I lay all my other gripes on other people, so I have to put my money where my mouth is, and
appreciate that in you. That was very
so yeah
brave of you.
Yeah.
No, I do agree with that one. No,
I hated the way she acted. I hated it.
No.
All right, so
now let's get into it.
Let's get into our episode.
36 minutes in.
Yeah. We'll run through this pretty quickly.
I mean, if you're still listening to us after almost 4 years at this point, you know what you're into. You know what you've gotten yourself into.
Honestly, some of our best conversations come up from these bullshit tangents that we go on. So
100%.
We gotta go off
something to it.
You're gonna get that one troll coming back to our page again, being like, "You lied. I thought you were talking about Stargate." We're like, "We are, buddy." Like,
no, I think they wanted to watch the actual episode, and it's like, bitch, this is YouTube. Copyright would have struck that immediately.
They already
We're not like a
they strike us,
reaction.
you know, the ones where we put clips in. Those technically have copyright strikes on them, even the way we did them. So there's no, you can't, if you're gonna put it in there, then you can't. Not that it matters. We're not really.
I think we're really
doesn't dinged us in that they're still live, like those episodes. They didn't pull that down or anything.
Yeah. So our episode opens with an archaeology professor named Dr. Jordan sitting at his desk studying an Egyptian canopic jar. A younger man named Stephen comes in, and Dr. Jordan tells him he's about to go to the lab and do some imaging on this jar so they can see what's inside. Stephen jokes about just breaking it open. We'll just bust it open and see what's inside of it right now. But Dr. Jordan tells him the Egyptian government expects the items back intact. I guess they're on loan, and we'll find out more about that. And Stephen's kind of frustrated to this, and he says, this scan is going to be like the find of a lifetime, and you're just handing it back over to them. Like, this sucks. Like, we have so much stuff here that we could find out stuff about, and we just have to hand it back over to them. So Dr. Jordan leaves, and Stephen follows him. Cut to the briefing room. Jack is reading one of those trashy tabloids, which reminds me of Men in Black every single time, because Tommy Lee Jones was like, these are the hot sheets, they're the best reporting you can find. And they're always conspiracy theories and shit. And Jack says that Teal'c is really into those, which is hilarious to imagine. Like, Teal'c is like, this is Earth culture to Teal'c. He's got to read like about Cher's secret pregnancy at 71 or whatever the fuck. Don't come for us, Cher. I'm joking.
Cher can come for us. That's fine.
But Daniel notices one of the headlines, and it's about Dr. Jordan, who we find is Daniel's old archaeology professor, and he was killed in a lab explosion. So we get to our opening credits. And we cut to a funeral where Stephen is giving a eulogy. Daniel is hanging around kind of by himself in the background. Christina?
This is a weird thing. I thought of it this time, and sorry to change it, but what is it with like the dark, mysterious in the background showing up a little bit late to the funeral, but like being weird. Like, why is that a thing in movies where, like, you know what time the fucking funeral was? You know when to be there. Why do you have to be the attention seeker by showing up fucking late or moping around? Either hide behind a fucking tree. Sorry, I actually have a thing. Hide behind a fucking tree and then see everyone afterwards. Don't come mid-speech, like, wandering mysteriously in it. I hate that shit. Like,
Also,
sorry.
why is it's always like this person that whose funeral we're at only ever had like 20 friends.
Yeah.
It's always a really
It's-
small graveside
it's a-
service. Because
Like-
they need the outside. It's more interesting looking, probably. I don't know.
Anyway, sorry, that was like it's a pet peeve of mine and things like, why you gotta be mysterious at a fucking
It's
funeral? Don't
That's a
do that.
trope.
It's a definitely a trope. Yeah.
Talking about tropes, and I had to like bring that up because that is one. Yeah, I fucking it bothers me. But anyway,
It reminds me of a TikTok trend that I saw, like somebody put out there, like stitch this with like something that annoys you when you see it in movies. When it's like, you'll like this one, Wells. It's like whenever a character is nervous, there's always feedback on the microphone, and it's like that's not how microphone feedback works. Just
No,
because they're
mhm.
nervous, like that type of thing.
An emotion gauge. It's
Right.
Mm.
So that's definitely a trope. You're totally right. Where it's like they always show up late and hang out in the back, but still noticeable. You're right. Just hide behind a tree if you don't want to
Just-
be seen.
Exactly.
Because it does draw more attention. It gives the impression of like they don't want to be noticed, but them doing that by that nature is drawing attention to themselves.
That's like narcissistic behavior. Like I get really triggered, and maybe this is why it bothers me so much. Because I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
why do you have to be the like weird center of attention? We can go on that at the end, but like hang a little lantern on that connection and like
It's the I'm not like other funeral goers vibe. I'm not like
Yes.
I'm not like other funeral goers. I have to be angsty and in the background,
Exactly.
and everyone needs to notice me back there, even though I act like I don't want them to notice me. Oh, don't look at me, but you do, but I want them.
But look at
You
me.
know what you're doing. Yeah.
But look at me. Okay, yeah, we can come to that at the end. But thank you. I just need to get that out of my system. I'm glad I'm not alone.
So Stephen is giving this eulogy, and he's like, he was a father to me through his many successes and some of his bitter disappointments. Looks directly at Daniel, like pauses. And I'm like, oh, he's a hater. Okay. Got the vibe right away.
Mhm.
He says, I'll remember him always as a dedicated archaeologist, kind and generous man, and a true friend. So after the funeral, Stephen approaches Daniel and calls him the prodigal son. A woman standing next to Stephen turns around to greet Daniel with a hug. Her name is Sarah. We learn, according to police, there was a slow gas leak in the lab and something must have caused a spark. The whole lab went up, and that's how Dr. Jordan was killed. I smell bullshit from the start. We get the impression, it's just like the vibe of things is like, this is not an accident. Something's going on here. They said that they would have called Daniel, but no one knew where to find him. It's like he fell off the face of the earth. And he was like, yeah, I've been busy, you know.
But doesn't he have an apartment? Doesn't he have a civilian like residence that's his like cover?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pretty sure they could have looked him up in the phone book.
Yep.
And
Yeah, because he still exists.
But where? I don't
his
know though.
answering machine.
I don't know though, because they're in Chicago and Daniel lives in Colorado. So it's not just like going to the yellow pages. It's not like the internet is as big as it is now where you could really like track somebody down.
Fair.
But
That's fair.
it's not, he's not in the same area, so I can see why. And they do say, they kind of keep going and they're like, you know, he says he's been keeping busy, but they haven't heard anything from him. No papers or studies, even on the fringes, because they know that's where kind of he operates, as the fringe science of like aliens and shit.
Wait,
and
My guess
isn't his a? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say my guess with that conversation was that they really didn't try that hard to find him.
Yeah.
They're
Like-
just trying to act like they did.
I was like, we would have found you. But I
So
think his apartment is in Chicago, even though he's not always there. I think it is in Chicago though, where his house is, where his apartment
I
is.
don't.
You're just like Jack's up in Minnesota. Like
I think
whenever
that's
he
a
goes to
cat. That's just a cabin that he owns. I think he has an actual other house where he lives in Colorado. I think they all live there
fair.
for the most part. I mean, we always get the vibe that like they live at the base because they have quarters and stuff there that they like can sleep in and stay at if they don't like want to go home. But
Yeah.
we very rarely see their homes. But I
Yeah,
always
that's fair.
got the vibe that like they lived in Colorado somewhere.
Yeah, I think they do. Except for Teal'c, who does live on the base.
He
Yeah.
lives on the base.
Yeah.
He lives on
Yes.
the base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Steven rubs it in Daniel's face even more, and he's like, the last time he saw Daniel, he was giving a lecture to an empty room and basically called out his crackpot theories and wonders why he came back. Because in this circle, he really is shunned. Like, everyone thinks he's a
Mhm.
fucking nut job. And like, he was definitely ousted from this community. So he storms off and leaves Daniel with Sarah, and they start to reminisce. Would you guys like to read this dialogue?
Sure.
Yeah,
By Daniel.
I'll be Sarah. Would you like an accent?
No, you don't have to, unless you want to.
No, I don't. Are you joking? Even after everything that happened, Dr. Jordan never thought any less of you. You were his best student.
Yes, that became the laughingstock of the archaeological community.
He kept hoping that you'd find proof, something to shut everyone up.
No, he thought I was nuts.
That's not true. Look, why do you think it's so hard for Steven to see you here? He's always been in your shadow, even after you left.
I hear his book's on the bestsellers list.
I know. He's getting a Porsche.
Oh,
I know. Look, I have to admit, I thought you didn't come back because of me.
no, that's not it.
We could have ended it better than we did.
Maybe. The truth is, I got caught up in something incredible.
You found something, didn't you? Something that supports your theory. Tell me, come on.
I can't.
Daniel.
Oh, okay. Let's just say that what the world knows about ancient Egypt barely scratches the surface. The truth is more incredible than any of us have ever imagined.
Now that's the Daniel I remember. Come on, I want to show you something. He's like,
God.
oh, okay.
This
Like,
is the shit that pisses me off about Daniel and how they write him. He's a fucking 2 seconds into a fucking person with a fucking vagina, and he's like, yes, but let me tell you the secret. Like, I fucking hate how they write this for him. Like, give him some more props. Like, he's a security risk. Should not let him out in the public if he's just going to give it up that quickly. Anyway. Continue.
Yeah, he did kind of like take the lead with that. I got caught up in something incredible. You didn't have to say
Exactly.
that.
He started it.
Because I think deep down he wants people to know that he's not. Because he's
yeah.
operating in this circle where like everyone thinks he's an idiot, but he knows he's right, and that's gotta
Yeah.
suck to live with. Like, I give him credit because if it were me, I'd be fucking blabbing. The CIA would hate to see my ass coming because I'd be spilling government secrets everywhere, especially like if you get torture involved. I'd be like, you don't have to pull my teeth out, bitch. I'll tell you what you want to know, and then you can take me out back and put me down or whatever. Like, we don't have to go through all that. So I do give him kudos because I'd want to yap a lot.
Yeah, that's
especially
fair. That's
to
fair.
be like, I was right, you assholes, the whole time. I was right. Fuck you all. Deuces and leave.
Fair.
Cut to the briefing room. Hammond is telling the rest of SG-1 that they can have some personal time off until Daniel comes back. I forgot this part, but Jack once again invites Sam to go fishing, but she's a fucking nerd.
So
she's like, I want to do science in my lab. I have science to do. So Jack, poor Teal'c, catches a stray and gets roped into this. And they go on a fishing trip together. Cut back to Daniel and Sarah. She's showing Daniel what Dr. Jordan was working on before he died. But the clock is running out. The Egyptian government made a formal request for their return, and they have to learn as much as possible before the deadline. So this is where we learn more about like where this stuff came from that they're studying. Would you guys like to read that dialogue?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
What if we said no?
I would read it by myself, and it would not be good at all.
Wait, we can say no? No, I'm kidding. Careful now. All these artifacts are cursed. Well, that's what they say.
Yeah, I read something like that.
Every member of the original expedition in 1931 died within a year of the dig. Then the ship transporting these artifacts to America sank off the coast of New Jersey 6 months later.
The Stewart expedition.
Yes.
Those deaths were attributed to mold spores that were released from the unsealed chamber.
Mold spores aren't exactly front page material.
No, I guess not. If these things went down with the ship in 1931, how'd they wind up here?
They found the wreck a couple of months ago. All the artifacts were still in the packing crates. They brought it up and they shipped them to the museum. We just got them last week.
Well, I can stay for a couple more days if you need help to cataloging these.
So this is some long lost ancient treasure that they just recovered, even though it was dug up, at this point, 70 years ago. So just then, Sarah realizes that something is missing. Cut to Jack and Teal'c. They are shipping out from Minnesota, and Jack is telling Hammond, hold on. So I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Jack is telling Hammond, like, we're going to be out of commission. That means no cell phones, no fax machines, not another living soul for miles, will be unavailable and accessible. If the Asgard need me, they'll have to beam me up, and if it's the Tok'ra, they can forget it, which I thought was funny. She's like, fine, if the Asgard want me, they can come fucking find me, but fuck the Tok'ra. Which kind of, they just did kind of save his ass one episode ago, but that was also Jacob too. Like, I think he gives more credit to Jacob than the Tok'ra. So back with Daniel, he is trying to track down the missing artifact. The curator of the museum thought it was the Isis jar, but it's actually a gold amulet. We saw Steven looking at this in the beginning of the episode. He was kind of like looking at it very longingly, like, oh, this stuff. I don't want to let it go.
The woman that plays the curator, I don't know what the deal is with her, but she's always like the person that's like dealing with something ancient or something religious and then dies. She was in Battlestar. She was the
Really?
priestess lady, and she gets blown up when they go down onto I'm like, that's her typecast.
Oh no. Well, spoiler. So the curator tells Daniel, and this woman doesn't make a name, she's just the curator. She tells Daniel she tells Daniel that amulet was supposed to be with Dr. Jordan. It was sent up to him. And then he asks about this Isis jar, and she takes him to it, and she notes that the symbols and how she hasn't ever seen any symbols like that before. Daniel has, and he offers to do a translation. So Spidey sense this is probably like Gould language. In Sam's lab, we see her working on her motorcycle, which I thought was pretty funny. Add mechanic to her list of sciences. Is mechanic like a science? I don't know.
Sure. Also, it's just like, how
did she get that in there?
The elevator's pretty big. I'm not worried about that. My thing is like that, because it's also the elevator designed to like haul maps from one area to another and everything.
You're right.
But it's just like Sam's already an absolute badass. But let's add motorcycle riding and repair to the list of like reasons why she's so badass. To the point, to the extent that Sam's motorcycle ends up in, I would argue, a very large percentage of fan fiction.
Oh yeah. Because why am I out of focus? Get me back in focus.
What the fuck? I'll probably readjust. Fine. Just go with it. There you go.
So yeah, she's working on her motorcycle in the lab with Siler when Daniel calls her. He tells Sam what he's doing and that there are Gould symbols on this jar. Wah wah wah. Shock face.
Surprise.
Cut to Jack and Teal'c. Jack is sitting and relaxing while he's fishing, and poor Teal'c is just awkwardly standing next to him.
God, that would be me.
He doesn't, and listen, I fucking hate the outdoors too, Teal'c. I get you. Like, I'm an indoor girly for life. And he tells Jack, like, there are no fish in this pond. What are we doing? To which Jack says, it's not about the actual fish. It's about fishing, the act of fishing. And that's when we hear Teal'c's cell phone ring. And Jack is like, you did not. You traitor. Such a traitor. But it was brought with him by the request of General Hammond. Hammond was like, Teal'c, no. I need to be able to get a hold of you. Jack answers that phone with the very mean what? Like, I don't even know if he knew who was. That could have been General Hammond. I don't know. It might have come up with like Daniel's name. I don't know. I don't remember how phones were back then. But it is Daniel, and he asks for Teal'c. He needs help with the translation, and the phrase that he gives Teal'c means banished to oblivion. And Teal'c offers more help. You can tell he's looking for an out.
He's like,
he does not
do
want to
you
be
request? Do you request assistance? I can be back there.
It's just to help you out a little bit.
here. Yeah. We also see the entire time he's being eaten alive by mosquitoes. Like, he is smacking them off of him constantly. But Daniel doesn't need any more help. He hangs up. Jack takes the battery out of the phone and like just tosses it behind them. Like, he throws it, not in the lake or anything, but he tosses the battery. So cut back to the SGC with Sam, Daniel, and Hammond. So that's who we've got. I can just get the hammy.
Okay. Daniel says, during the ritual of mummification, the ancient Egyptians would remove the vital organs of the deceased and place them in jars, which would then be buried with the sarcophagus so they could be assessed in the afterlife.
Is that what we're looking at here?
That's what I thought at first, but according to the record of the original expedition, no sarcophagus was found. The hieroglyphs identify the jar as belonging to Isis, who was the Egyptian mother goddess.
A go old?
That's possible. See, Isis was a consort of Osiris, supposedly the first pharaoh of Egypt. According to legend, he was placed in a magic box and dumped into the Nile by his brother Seth.
Now I recognize that name.
The gold symbols indicate that Isis and Osiris suffered some sort of punishment or banishment.
Where to?
I have no idea.
So Hammond tells them to examine and study the remaining contents of the expedition, but Daniel warns them, some caution, worried that it could be some kind of gold booby trap. I don't know if it has been brought up yet, but the whole, like, it's cursed. All the people, was that in the dialogue? That, like,
somewhere along the way, I think.
Yeah. If not, it'll be in here. I know I put it in here somewhere.
I think it was in Sarah's dialogue.
Yeah. So Daniel also tells Hammond the expedition originally listed 2 jars, but they only have the one. He's going to head back to Chicago tonight to see if he can find the other one.
That's another trope, by the way. You're like, when it's the one thing that you're trying to fix or save, or, oh, we stopped the one bomb from exploding. Actually, it's 2. Like, that's
but there's another one.
There's another one.
So back in Chicago, Daniel goes back to the museum and is looking around and happens to run into Steven. He's like in the basement of this where they have like all this stuff like stored, and it's dark. He doesn't see anything. He's like looking around with a flashlight, and that's when he runs into Steven, which is suspicious. Even though he works there, suspicious. Why are you like sneaking around in the dark?
But like, how was Steven able to do that without a flashlight? He was just like going around something. Anyway,
weird. Yeah,
just a plot hole. But like, because like, there's no reason like for that to have been an ability of his. But he was just down there in the dark. No light.
That's why pirates actually wear eye patches. It's not because they don't have an eyeball. It's to keep their night vision intact. So like, if they go below decks and it's dark, they can switch to their dark eye and they can see much better right away.
Yep.
Interesting. I never knew that.
It was on Mythbusters. They tested it on Mythbusters and it was 100% like, whoa, this
so
actually works.
So because this one would stay in the dark all the time.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to adjust.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's really cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I know, literally. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fixate on that.
He has pirate vision. So
maybe Steven's a pirate. Could
be.
They are taking stuff from other cultures and want to keep it. Pretty pirate-like.
Yep.
True.
So Steven tells Daniel, first of all, he's like, what are you doing here? And Steven's like, I work here, bitch. Like, what are you doing here? You don't work here. But Steven tells Daniel the Osiris jar was destroyed in the explosion. Daniel then asks about the missing amulet. So here's some dialogue between Steven and Daniel.
Got it. Daniel, if you're looking to get back together with Sarah, that's your business. I really couldn't care less, but I do have a problem with you coming here and involving yourself in my work.
Don't you mean Dr. Jordan's work?
No, my work. Sarah and I were Dr. Jordan's assistants. You haven't been involved since you walked out on him.
I didn't walk out on him. I was trying to protect him.
You mean you distanced yourself in order to spare him the embarrassment of being associated with you? Daniel, you really should not have come back.
Daniel finds the breaker and switches on all the lights.
Look, I don't want to get into this with you right now, but you need my help.
Why? Do you think there might be aliens involved?
The elevator rises. The curator is dead inside.
Oh, God.
So there's the missing curator. The curse has struck again. R.I.P. to that lady who also dies in other things because she's dealing with cursed items, I guess. Back at the SGC, Sam and Hammond are inspecting the jar. The exterior is ordinary ceramic. It also appears as if the seal has been damaged. So the imaging of the jar, they do like some kind of MRI or some kind of like X-ray imaging on the jar, and you can very clearly see a Gould symbiote inside the jar. Back at the museum, the police say the curator died from blunt force trauma. Stephen, I guess, like Daniel kind of insinuates that Stephen was trying to throw him under the bus. Like, it was suspicious that he was here. He came out of nowhere. He blah, blah, blah. But they found some bricks at the bottom of the elevator shaft that looked like it fell off the wall and hit her in a freak accident. So that's how they kind of explain that away. The curse strikes again. Yeah. So Daniel asked for pictures of the missing Osiris jar. It also has some gold symbols on it. Sarah knows what they are, but of course, he tells Sarah that he knows what they are, but of course he can't say. So there he goes again with like his like, I know, but I can't say. The world's not ready for it. It's my burden to bear. Oh, the knowledge. That type of bullshit. So back at the SGC,
I totally do get it too, though. Like, I've been there.
I would want to blab. I would have blabbed already, though. I'd be like,
wanna
girl,
say all the shit, like,
because you know, like, where it's like, I need to tell you something. Don't tell anyone. And it's like, I'm gonna tell my best friend immediately after you tell me. I'm sorry.
If anybody tells me anything, just know that these two will know pretty quickly. So,
but then it's like I can keep my mouth. I don't know. I keep my mouth shut about certain things. Like if you do tell me something in confidence, like any of you two, I'm not telling other people.
Oh yeah, I know that. But like y'all gonna find out. You're gonna be told.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is true. And you know this honestly because you have told us stuff, and we have kept our mouth shut. Locked the fuck down. Lockdown. So
proven time and time again.
Everyone else have fun with what those possibly could be.
Now we're being insufferable like Daniel. Oh God.
Yes, we did it.
We know things. And we keep our mouth shut.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they're examining the jar while keeping it hermetically sealed. So they have it. It's like that box thing from it was the Machello episode with the Legacy. It was with the little Gould busting things. So they have it in like the hermetically sealed box with the gloves that they can reach through. Janet pulls out the symbiote. It is dead, but still juicy. Even though it's been in that jar for thousands of years. It reminds me of the Mummy when like the Brendan Fraser Mummy when like it comes out and he's like, why does he look still juicy? Like he's still decomposing. Yeah.
No, I can't.
So back with Daniel and Sarah, they're trying to go through Dr. Jordan's records to see what info he had, but they've all been wiped clean, including his email. Sarah has some convoluted explanation about how she retrieved some of the missing emails and documents. So there is some dialogue between Sarah and Daniel again.
Cool. The professor received one message on the night he died. Well, I'm guessing he never got around to reading it.
That's the results of carbon dating analysis done on the ebony portion of item 14C.
The missing gold amulet. Oh, it's me again.
That's weird. Sorry.
Oh my God, Daniel. Oh my God, Daniel. It was once I start, I can't stop. It's over 10,000 years old. This means that you were right all along.
Yeah, I know.
This dialogue. The Egyptian the Egyptian civilization must be thousands of years older than we ever assumed.
Sarah, you can't tell anyone about this.
Why is this so funny?
Very melodramatic.
Yeah. What are you talking about? This is exactly the evidence you've been looking for. This completely validates your theories.
Look, all we've got are results of one carbon dating on a missing artifact.
So we get there we go. So we get nope. You know when people get the giggles on sets?
Oh God, yeah.
It makes no sense at all. There we go. There you go.
Yeah.
So we can contact the technician who performed the analysis.
What?
And then like it gets dramatic.
Oh,
'Cause they're like, oh shit.
Oh, it's a what? Because Sarah's
Whoa,
looking
yeah.
at
What?
the computer.
I'm gonna redo that.
What?
What?
Why'd you redo it? Okay, we got it. Dr. Jordan wasn't the only one to get these results. Steven.
Oh no.
Oh no, it was
Steven!
He's
Damn
a
it.
red herring, you know.
Mm.
Spoiler alert. So back at the SGC, Janet and Sam explain that the jars are some kind of advanced stasis jar with a small Naquita power bank. They believe the symbiote was taken from its host and put in the stasis jar while it was alive. The only reason the symbiote is now dead was because the seal of the jar was broken during transport. Now they have to worry about the second jar. If that one wasn't damaged, the Gould could still be alive inside of it. They're assuming, okay, there's probably another Gould in this other jar. If that one is still alive, there's a Gould roaming around Earth. Bad news. Back in Chicago, Sarah tells Daniel that Steven is gone and his place has been cleaned out. She believes he stole the amulet to prevent Daniel's theories from being proven correct. So here's the thing. This amulet is, to Sarah, in her perspective, it's proving everything that Daniel has ever proposed, right? Like, or at least a decent chunk of it. And she's excited because now she's like kind of getting clued in on the secret. And Daniel's like, no, you can't tell anyone. And if I was her, I'd be like, fuck you. Like, you don't want to be proven right. So I'm sure that like she is also realizing now, like, he knows more than he's keeping secrets from me and he's not telling me everything. Because if this truly does prove that, like, and he had been ousted from this community and made like fun of and laughed out, this would be redeeming for him, but he truly doesn't care. He's like, no, you can't tell anyone. So back, also we're still in Chicago. Daniel tells Sarah that now there have been 3 deaths already from this surrounding this artifact. Dr. Jordan, the curator, and now the tech who did the carbon dating on the amulet was found dead. So this poor person that we've never met before, they just did some testing. So Daniel is alluding that he thinks Steven is behind this. And we also are getting the vibe that like he thinks Steven is the Gould. Sarah is like, I don't think he would be capable of murder. Like, she doesn't believe that he's capable of that. And we can tell, like I said, Daniel thinks that Steven has been taken by a Gould. So we have some dialogue between Daniel and Sarah. Would you like me to step in and read this, Wells? Do you
No,
have
I got it.
dogs in the background? Oh, I didn't know if you had like dogs crying in the background. You went on mute for a second.
No, I was clearing my throat. I was getting ready
Oh,
to go.
okay.
Oh,
All right.
getting prepped.
Jasper's currently
Okay.
moving upstairs somewhere, so I think we're
Okay.
up for a little bit.
All right. Well, you might not know him as well as you think you do. At least, not anymore.
What's that supposed to mean? Oh, let me guess. You can't explain, right?
Sarah.
Well, what do you expect, Daniel? You show up after 5 years, you can't say where you've been. You've got this mysterious ability to be able to read this ancient language nobody's ever seen before. but you can't explain how. Then we finally find the evidence to vindicate you to the entire archaeological community. You want to cover it up. What is going on? This is me, Daniel.
I know.
Then why can't you trust me? What have you been doing for the past 5 years?
I want to tell you, Sarah, really, I do, believe me. I wish you could see some of the things I've seen, but the world is not ready to know. Not yet.
It's the melodrama that gets me every time, I think.
He is leading her on.
He is
Oh,
big
yeah.
time. I'm not asking you to tell the world. I'm asking you to tell me. This is my life's work too, Daniel. So you're working for the government. What? Daniel,
I'm sorry.
you're just going to
I'm
disappear.
sorry.
I'm sorry. You're just going to disappear again, aren't you?
Yes.
He's like, yep. I think Stephen was right. You never should have come back.
Mm.
Bitch.
Okay, but here's the thing we learn later with spoiler, but like she fucking knows. She fucking knows. Like,
I
she's playing
wonder.
him.
That's a question I'll pose at the end because
I have a whole theory, but yeah.
So back at the SGC, Daniel tells Hammond his thoughts about Steven and that the only lead they have is this missing amulet. To us, it's a priceless relic, but he doubts a Gould cares about its monetary value. It has to have some kind of like real life purpose. It's possibly a Gould device, but Daniel hasn't found anything else from the dig that contains Naquita. So it's not like a weapon or anything that they think, but it seems important. They guess that Osiris is looking for the Isis jar or a way off the planet. They've been out of the loop for a long time, and they really don't know what happened to Seth or Ra because they've been in stasis for thousands of years. So Janet was able to synthesize the sedative from the jar and made a dart powerful enough to sedate a Gould, which is something they're really hard to take out when it comes to like sedating. So I guess they are trying to take them alive, even though it's a risk. And they've been out of the loop for 1,000 years, they could still give us a lot of information. So Hammond gets a call that Steven got on a plane on the way to Cairo, and Sam, Daniel, and Janet follow him. So we see Steven in the tomb looking around. He takes the amulet and places it in a slot on the wall. The wall opens up to reveal a red light and a ribbon device. Steven takes it and slides it on. We hear the sound of transport rings, but before we see anything, the scene cuts. So we get a nice like scene of it's Janet, Daniel, and Sam cruising through the desert in their dune buggy. And
That
it's
downhill was like, I mean, they got like everybody that was in the vehicle got air at one point when they're down the dune.
I wonder
pretty
where that
intense.
was. Yeah, I wonder where they filmed this. We should look it up when we look up other stuff. But yeah, they definitely like got a shot of them like cruising through the desert. I was gonna say something else too, now I can't remember. But it's a very remote place. Like we're not in Giza at the pyramids, like where it's tons of tourists there. Like it's very remote. There's nobody around. There's no city or town around. It's very like off in the middle of nowhere. So the crew pull up to the tomb. Stephen is found lying on the ground, still alive but bleeding internally, and Sam, with her spidey sense, can tell that he is not a Gould. He figured out the amulet.
Does Janet have spidey medical sense to know that he's bleeding internally?
You tell me. You're the
How do
medical
you
expert.
know?
I don't, especially with all of his clothes on, because like at least if he didn't have clothes on and you could see like
bruising and stuff
on the
would think
torso, or you could
potentially,
make the assumption. But yeah. But if he's, I don't know, if he's if he's coughing up blood, that would tell me like punctured lung, right? Or like something like that. That's what I would assume.
Just like bitten his tongue or like
That's
who
true.
the heck
Yeah.
knows? Like
yeah. They have to make it look bad, but like without showing a lot. So it's like internal bleeding. That's serious, right? We got to get him out of here. So he figured out the amulet was a key and he wanted to make the discovery and get all the credit himself. Daniel asked who did this to him, and out of the shadows walks Sarah with the ribbon device. She is Osiris. My question is, how long has she been Osiris? Was it since the lab explosion?
Yes. I think it went further back than that. I think that I think that she's the reason the story got leaked to go in the newspaper to bait Daniel to come back because she needed a way to the thing. I think she'd been however long that had been because she says that he knows more than anyone else she's tried to talk to about it, which means that she's been poking and prodding. She probably did research, found out, oh, Daniel, like I think she knew. I think she was like, oh,
Well,
this could be a good
she
way
would
to
know
get
from
him.
the host. She would know
Yeah.
that he was studying what he was
Oh, this-
studying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she planted that as one of the ways to get him to come out of hiding, and by killing his professor would probably be a way to do it.
Yeah.
If it ever going to happen. So I have a theory it's been the whole time.
So she blasts everyone with a ribbon device and asks Daniel where the Stargate is. Because she's like, you seem to know a lot more than all these other clowns on this planet. So tell me where the Stargate is. Daniel tells Osiris that they killed Seth, Ra, Hathor, and Sokar. And she's pretty stoked. She's like, sweet. I don't have any opposition. He kind of cleared the ranks
They really
for me.
just they hate each other, don't they? They just all hate each other.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a nice little family reunion.
Yep.
They all, yeah. But Osiris did ask about the Isis jar and where she can find that. Daniel is able to stab her with the trank dart, and it seems to maybe kind of slow her down. She's like, what's this? And she's like, oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, you guys I'll be back. Don't worry. But she goes to the hidden panel and uses the hand device, and it's like she's powering something up. And we see a ship emerge from the dunes, and Osiris escapes with the transport rings, but not before vowing to return to fuck shit up. And the rest of the crew very conveniently wakes up after she leaves. Sam does try to fire off a few rounds, but apparently, like, shooting through the rings is really hard. They're really good at hitting the rings, but not between them.
Yeah.
Steven should be okay. They can get him some help if they get him to the hospital.
When Sam asked Daniel, like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm starting to get used to that thing. Like,
yeah. That was funny.
Very much. We're probably going to die now at lol, like that.
Yeah.
Energy. Oh, yeah.
She was like cooking his brain with the ribbon device. So Steven should be able to make a full recovery. They just have to get him to a hospital and make up a cover story to tell him. And we see the ship escape into the distance. This is really, I don't think I've seen one like that before because it has this like spike on the bottom that comes out. Yeah.
It's the old model, Yeah. 1,000 years ago.
It's a vintage.
It's the vintage.
The Model T Ford.
They cared a lot more about aesthetic back then.
Yeah. And then we fade out. So we know, like, this is very clearly a setup for future episodes, which is what we mean by, like, this is very intentional, kind of like with Tangent. They're going to revisit Earth, kind of making hybrid Gould devices and, ships and whatnot. So this is going to be something they revisit.
Yep.
But that's our episode recap. Themes and discussions, there's really not much because it is like a nice little mystery fun time episode. But yeah, it was a good one. Do we have any good comments?
Yeah, I got quite a few starred. Going back toward the beginning, hashtag keep Daniel single. We need to make this a trending thing. Casually, Sandra says Daniel is too pretty to be left alone. But then Mara chimed in with Stargate is just a bi-panic soup for me, LMAO. And
Agreed.
I agree.
Agreed.
Then going back to the whole should we just break open this jar thing, Mara said, opens jar, roll end credits. We wouldn't have needed the rest of this episode. And you mentioned the mummy at one point, Sarah. Casually, Sandra said, did anyone get the mummy?
Oh, yeah.
I always do. I think that's what a lot of these, like going back to the like archaeology, hard Egyptian stuff definitely gives the mummy vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
I forget what this was during, but Mara said, I bet Teal'c would watch the Golden Girls, and I agree. I think he would. I think he would be a fan of the Golden Girls.
I think Blanche would be his favorite.
Yes. Ellie says, Teal'c being a Bigfoot truther is the webisode sideshow we were robbed of.
Oh my God. Yes, please.
I can just picture him reading those trashy tabloids and just like getting so much enjoyment out of it. Like, this is Earth culture and lore that he's catching up on.
Oh my god.
Yep. Megan says, listen, before I die, I want to hire people to just show up to my funeral in suits and just be mysterious in the background just because.
Yes. Yes.
A good point about trying to find Daniel, his former workers, was, don't you have to keep publishing to retain a PhD? Isn't that why Sam wrote that whole book when she had the super armbands on? So Daniel must be doing something to publish work on the side. It's true. You do have to keep up your PhD.
Interesting.
Sam.
Maybe.
Oh, go ahead.
Maybe the Air Force is like, we'll let you keep it, but
We'll
like,
just say
we'll
the
pull
stuff
some
you can
strings.
trust.
Just shut the fuck up. You're
Just
like, you're not allowed.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut up. Yeah. We'll pull some strings with the PhD board or whoever runs that shit.
The whole Sam with the motorcycle talk. Low battery power says Sam is all of STEM. Mara says Sam is science. Her picture is in the dictionary under every science. And Megan also said Sam is STEM. So okay, we know, we get it. Sam is STEM.
Love that.
Scott says it's part of the NDA package. Telling one fry is telling all fries. And
honestly,
you are correct.
yeah.
Just
This
know
is
this.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly at what point this one came up, but I love it. Ellie said Daniel would have done so much vague booking in 2008. His MySpace would be a mess.
He would have been one of those assholes that is like, in the hospital right now, send thoughts and prayers. And then when people would ask him what's going on, he'd be like,
picture of the hospital band and the
And then when people would ask him, he's like, can't talk about it right now. It's like, bitch, you totally can. I can't stand those kind of people.
Yeah. Mara, I don't know who spiked my drink with giggle juice. This is hot tea and hot tea only. So I got nothing. Just sometimes when the dialogue is extra angsty, I just lose it.
You killed that accent though.
It was not my best time, but the words felt weird. Sometimes words when you're reading in certain accents make perfect sense. And sometimes they feel really weird, and those feel really weird. Like they weren't written by somebody with that accent. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
probably.
Yeah, totally.
There were just a few words in there and like phrases that felt wrong. I don't know, but thank you. I think it combined with the angsty is what really sent me. I don't know.
The soundtrack was hot garbage in this episode too. It was pretty soap opera.
All of it.
Megan said, every time you say Stephen, I just think of that Vine, the Scottish lady yelling at her horse, Stephen, I thought you were dead.
I have to look that one up.
Oh, it's so good. Stephen, and the horse is just lying on the ground.
It's honestly jarring to see horses lying down because I don't know why or where this myth came from that like they sleep standing up. Like I don't know. I always thought that like you never see them sitting down. Like if they're laying down, it's because they're dying, type of thing.
There's that woman's horse Squidward that's on TikTok. It's always playing dead, like
shocked.
In the
I've never
worst
heard
places.
of it.
In the worst places, this horse is just like
they looked at because like their legs are sticking out and everything. Like they don't loaf like a cat, so it is quite jarring.
Yep.
I
thought you were dead.
That. Yeah.
Stephen.
Yeah, I'll send it to
Ellie or the squirrel that's like, Ellen, Steve. That's an old one, by the way.
A vintage. I'm not
one.
Familiar.
So yeah, some good comments.
Yeah.
Around. There's a lot more, but Mara at the end said, so the plot twist was Daniel was being gaslit the whole episode.
Yeah.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't have a lot for themes, and even after we've gone through it, I think
it's not too deep.
It's not too deep.
No. And we talked about it, I think, along the way. I mean, there was those moments of just like the very obvious trope that just it's right in there. But no, there's no overarching. But other than like your connection to it is very Scooby-Doo. It's very like
the mystery, the red
The
herring, like
Yeah, which is the trope in of itself. So like, it was a good episode. As much as we pick it apart, like it's not nothing, but it was good. It was entertaining. It definitely laid out a whole other plot line.
no, it was
Um,
yeah, I wouldn't call this a nothing burger. Nothing burgers to me are like they just stretch out to fill time. This was
yeah,
very interesting the whole time. It was
yep,
very engaging. It was very interesting. Very I was intrigued. It was an Earth-centric episode too. We got another
yep.
one. That's kind of like 2.5 in a row. Tangent, I would say, is kind of Earth-centric, except the fact that like they're kind of off in outer space, chilling. But
Yeah.
a lot of it takes place on Earth, but an Earth-centric, didn't leave. We get some more like lore on like how kind of vital Earth was back in the day with like the Gould. It
Mhm.
was a pretty popular hub.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a solid episode, but
Mhm.
just nothing too deep. It's a romp, if you will.
I
But
agree.
yeah.
Agree.
So should we like give it a Google? Let me go to let me find like the IMDb page for this episode to see like if we can get any answers about how it aired or even where they went on those sand dunes. I kind of want to know. And maybe we won't because sometimes these fun facts are few and far between. Although I should really get back on my bullshit when it comes to listening to the audio commentary.
Oh
I do
yeah.
have the DVDs that show the audio commentary, but then I have to like watch the episode twice, which is it's a tall order sometimes for me. I don't always have the space to do that. So let's see. Fun facts, trivia. So the device Daniel used to evaluate the artifacts inside the museum deposit is actually a GPS unit, a Garmin E-Trex. The scene where Daniel sees something of interest in the newspaper Jack is reading and snatches it away is a callback to the same action in the original film.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't there's nothing in there about where they filmed that sand dune scene or the episode order. So it's a mystery. We'll never know.
I feel like it's gonna have to do with the content of the next one and maybe I don't know, maybe the comic relief of Teal'c and Jack at the beginning of this one wouldn't have worked straight after the other one, maybe. I don't know. There's
I gotta think. I don't remember. Oh, it's a Teal'c-centric episode.
it is.
Serpent's Venom.
Yeah.
All right. That's what we've got coming up next. Serpent's Venom. But yeah, that was The Curse. A
Mhm.
solid episode. I don't
Yeah.
really have many complaints. I truly don't.
No, it was fun.
Mhm.
I
It
was
fun.
very happily proven wrong from my earlier haterade. I was stewing. I was like, I don't want to watch this.
Oh,
Love
that's right.
interest.
Mara did bring up at SpaceCon, Michael did talk about the dune scene and how he's trying to yeet Terrell out of the Jeep.
Oh no, he was purposely like,
Mhm.
wow,
Mhm.
I forgot
what a
about that.
wiener. Just kidding.
Mhm.
She's so tiny though too. Like
It would
anything
not be
would send her
hard.
flying. Yeah,
She's so like itty
she
bitty.
truly is. Yeah, like
Pocket sized. She's
meeting
pocket
her
I
in
love her.
person. Yeah, she's so
God,
sweet.
love her. She's
but
truly,
her personality
truly a
is
gem.
larger than life in
Yeah.
this tiny body, this tiny package. It's so
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
exactly what you expect, I think, of anybody that played Janet, you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
She's a hoot.
Agreed.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
I think that's all we've got this week.
Yeah.
Whose turn? Is it my turn?
I can take it.
I don't have anything planned. We never do. We always drop the fucking ball when it comes to this. We're
But,
like, go, just think of something. I don't know.
Unless Wells, you have one you want to pull out.
I
with
have
the
something I
accent.
could do.
Yeah. Go for it.
A different accent. There's this dialogue of Sarah's from the "You Show Up After 5 Years." It just makes me think of of Schitt's Creek when David goes missing at the Amish farm.
Oh yeah.
And so it's all I can hear with this conversation. I'm just queuing myself up while I'm describing this, but it's like, well, what do you expect, Daniel? You show up after 5 years. You can't say where you've been. No one knew where you were. We just had to close the iris.